bringing you the latest news from Monterey Athletics. This is the Plainsman Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Good Tuesday evening. Welcome into the High School Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. We're coming up on week 6 of the high school football season. If you're a baseball playoff nerd like me, it's the first night of the baseball playoffs. So I'm a little bit in heaven, but I also enjoy covering football, and I've enjoyed getting to know the gentleman on the far left, who's Jason Sims, the first-year Monterey head coach. He was around last year for their playoff run, and special teams coordinator. I'm going to call you kickoff return guru, Oscar Murga. How's it going?
I'm good. I don't know about a guru of anything, but it's going good.
Yeah, you take credit for what you should get credit for. Coach Sims has kind of talked about what you guys have done, and you've got 4 kickoff returns for touchdowns this year.
Yes, sir.
Now you guys have some Jimmies and Joes that
we do, and it's more that than anything else. I promise you that.
I could understand that. We were just talking about somebody else here a minute ago. Before we jump in, I just mentioned this to Jason. Big news from Monterey on the girls' basketball front. Ambrosia Cole, the senior guard who was one of the key members of the Lady Plainsman State Championship team, put out on social media here. Let me find it real quick because I retweeted it, and I'm very happy for that young lady. Ambrosia has committed to the Texas Tech Lady Raiders. So y'all have one down the road at Oklahoma. You've got one at North Texas, R.A. Johnson, and now you've got one right here in town with Ambrosia Cole. So it's a big day for Monterey sports, big day for Monterey girls basketball.
Yeah, that's big time. We're excited for her, for sure.
Have you watched Ambrosia play much since you've been here? That
Yes.
little girl can go now.
Yes, she can hoop.
She's got a motor. She might return a kickoff or two for you if you throw her out there.
I'd gladly take her. She's a great athlete.
And she's a tough little kid. Now, if she's listening, she's going to get mad at me for saying this. When she was younger, a little bit of something would go wrong, and you'd see her curl up like a roly-poly. I don't know if young people know what roly-polies are. Now she's older, and she was big in the state championship run last year because she had to, when teams focused on Aaliyah, she had to really do some things to get them going, her and Ari both. So congratulations to Ambrosia Cole. That's a big day for Monterey, big day for LISD, big day for Texas Tech. Let's switch gears here to football. We'll jump in and talk about Plainsman last week and what they've got coming up this week. You guys have a little bit of a game this week, huh?
Yep.
It just happens that we'll be talking to both coaches playing involved in that game when Andrew Roy from Coronado gets here. Real quick reminder that we shuffled the deck on the High School Fan Zone. Monday nights are Estacado, Memorial, and Liberty, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Tuesday nights like tonight, we start off with Monterey at 6 p.m., followed by Coronado at 6:30. Wednesday nights, Lubbock High, Friendship, and Lubbock Cooper, 6 to 7:30 p.m. 6 to 6:30 p.m. on Friday nights on Double T 97.3 and 100.7 The Score is the West Texas Friday Night Preview. 9:30 to midnight, same 2 stations, West Texas Friday Night Scoreboard. Archives for this show and any shows on the 2 networks can be found on the High School Fan Zone page at doubleTsportsnetwork.com. And don't forget to download the app, the 100.7 Score mobile app, to listen to this podcast or any of the 8 High School Fan Zone podcasts that we do. Jason, you guys went up the road, started district play last week, went up the road to Amarillo. Absorbed a loss, took a loss to Amarillo High 37-20. The game I covered was 37-22, 37-21.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened and kind of monitored that game as I was watching Estacado. There were some good things to take away from it. It looked like it took you guys a while to get going a little bit. Didn't get untracked right away.
You got to tip your hat to Amarillo. Mm-hmm. They played really, really strong football. Did a great job of shutting our run game down and committing to it. And we committed a lot of mistakes in opportune times that shut us down. Going back and watching the film, I didn't feel like we played as bad as it felt like we played. But the mistakes we made were at the worst times we could make them. And that they played harder than us, I feel like, and that's unacceptable. And so it's been a key focus of ours this week to learn from that and a lot of little things that we need to be able to get better at to become a better football team. And so hats off to Amarillo High and Sandy's and Coach Dunham, because their kids really did play good football.
You guys were right there in the game, 16-7, and they got an interception, and that changed the tenor of things a little bit. Talking to Lee Passmore and Cale Steed from Press Pass Sports up there, you guys fought in the second half.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to be happy with – you cannot come out – sometimes teams don't – high school kids don't come out immediately, but whether it's a coach speech or just pride or whatever, getting them playing hard in the second half is something to build on.
I'm probably willing to say every single team that's losing at halftime is getting a speech from their coach.
Yes.
It boils down to the character of your kids, and our kids fight, and they've worked hard. They've paid the price, and they're committed and they care, and they're going to fight to the bitter end. There's no lay down in them, and we've seen that in every game. Like we're sitting here 2-3, we've lost 3, and at any moment they could, if they had weak character, just lay down. But we fought to the bitter end, and you can almost say we're second half football team. So we've played better in the second half than we have in the first half in almost every single game. And so you just got to love our kids for that, and it shows their toughness and their resilience. We just got to get better at football things, and as we continue to get better at football things, we'll become a better football team.
Oscar, this is your first year at Monterey, or
This is my second year.
Second year.
Yes,
So
sir.
you came last year. We were talking about the different places you've been around the Panhandle. You spent some time at Estacado. I know when Jason talks about when he got to Monterey, how he kind of felt just the atmosphere. He kind of got into his bones a little bit. What's it been like for you being there for a couple years now?
Same thing. The kids are awesome, and just knowing that you're part of that tradition, being at Monterey, it's one of the flagship programs in West Texas, especially in 5A. You look back into all the history of Monterey, and I mean, shoot, it's an honor being a part of that program.
Give me rattle off where you've been through the years.
So started out at Sunray, went to Memphis for a year. I was at Dalhart for a while. Went to Estacado with Danny Cervantz. I was there for a year. When he left to Odessa High, I went to Fort Worth Brewer. Then I came back to Lubbock High with Shane Stephen.
Okay.
And then I took the head coach job at Tulia, and then I came back to Monterey.
So, Jason, did you ever cross paths with Oscar in all those years you were at
Not
Shoulders
knowingly.
and
When we got on the staff together last year, and we immediately hit it off. I mean, he and I we got similar backgrounds. We're similar in age, and so we've just kind of been friends for this whole time going through, and it's been a pleasure to work with him.
All right, that's going to bring us to the end of the first segment here in the Plainsman Fan Zone. We'll be right back after this break on 100.7 The Score.
Diving headfirst into Monterey athletics. You're listening to the Plainsman Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back into the Plainsman Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. We are talking Monterey football. They lost to Amarillo High 37-21. Have that game Friday, 7 p.m. Friday at Lowry Field against Coronado. And for years and years, this has been a very fun and spirited rivalry game. You guys both got a taste of it last year. Jason, you mentioned that you and Oscar kind of got to know each other last year. What else can you tell me about this guy and what he's done with your special teams?
He's not just our special teams coach. He's my assistant head football coach, and he coaches our linebackers and really has a big hand in what we do defensively. And so he wears a lot of hats. And last year with us turning everything around, he is one of the big reasons for that turnaround. Just think the experience he brought into that defensive room and the relationships that he's built with kids. And I knew, I was really excited whenever I took over that I had the core of our staff back, and I knew that we needed to put these guys that have built these relationships in key spots, and he's been my right-hand man, and I wouldn't be able to have any of the success we've had early right now without him. And so, I have a ton of great coaches over there, and he's the epitome of what a coach looks like, and I've just been excited for him to be a part of this, and it was great to get to know him last year. If you saw us at track meets, we were going to find us together, and we were hanging out all the time, and it was fun to go beat Coronado last year. And so, the thought process this week is, what do we got to do to get it done, and he's being instrumental in getting that plan put in place.
We're going to talk a little bit about the Mustangs. They're 0-5, but sometimes that can be scary when you play a rival and they've had some rough times. Oscar, and one thing I enjoy, I've gotten to know Jason about is some coaches, I want to be polite here, some coaches kind of land places because of where they are, who they know. You two had to kind of climb up and earn your time, all the places you listed. You take a little bit from every coach, every program you've been with, and kind of shake that up and figure out what you need to do with the team?
No, absolutely. I think back to my very first year of coaching. We were sitting around at a clinic, and my offense coordinator, Coach Nix, we were sitting there and we're talking, and he's like, "Man, I always knew you were going to be a coach. I love football." And I said, "What advice do you have for me?" And he told me, he's like, "No matter where you go, where you're at, who you work for, always learn something."
Yep.
Whether they're a good coach, whether they're a bad coach. And so everywhere I've been, I've worked with some great coaches. I've worked with some guys that weren't great coaches. But I always learned something from them. And you know, like Coach Sim said, I just show up and I do my job. I'm not there for the ego. I'm there for the kids, and I'm there to make them better, essentially. And we hit it off, and it might be because we're the old guys on staff.
Easy. I'm older than you.
But it's you always bring something to the table as far as what you've learned from everybody else. I mean, that's the best way to do it is when you're learning, when you're coaching, you're always learning from the kids, from the coaches that are around you, and I mean, you always want to be a sponge when you're out there.
And Juan Rod, if you're listening, I want to preface this by saying I love how Lubbock High approaches things. It's a tough environment to coach in. Coaching at Lubbock High for a few years will kind of teach you some things too, because you are fighting an uphill battle, and you take that to wherever you go next, and you kind of understand I can do things here that I had to do differently at a Lubbock High.
No, absolutely. I loved my time at Lubbock High. I worked with some great coaches, working for Coach Stephen. He's one of my best friends. We still talk probably once or twice a week, and so it is. There's a lot to be learned from that, and we had some awesome kids. Worked
absolutely.
their tail off, and sometimes, you get tired of the moral victories, but we had a lot of moral victories, and I think we changed a lot of lives, and that's the biggest thing.
And I think that's what you guys have going at Monterey, because watching your guys, Jason, you hit the nail on the head. It's been fun to watch them. Not that when Coach Hutch was there, it was the same thing. Monterey kids, they're going to bring their lunch pail, and they're going to fight and do everything they can. It may not always end up the way they want, but you're going to get max effort from them.
100%.
All right, coming up on the second break, we've got one more segment to talk Plainsmen and Mustangs a little bit, and then we'll transition to the Mustang Fan Zone after that. So come back and talk to us on 100.7 The Score in the Mustang Fan Zone. Plainsman Fan Zone. We'll be in the Mustang Fan Zone after that.
Your inside look into Monterey sports. This is the Plainsman Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back. We are in the Plainsman Fan Zone, I promise. We'll switch to the other guys here in a minute. Let's talk a little bit about this week, Jason. Monterey, Coronado. I'm trying to remember. I used to know off the top of my head the years the two schools opened. It wasn't very far apart. They both came along fairly quickly after Lubbock High and Dunbar had been there for a while. Coaches can downplay it. Mike Leach was famous for saying we're just playing the orange team or we're just playing the maroon team. But in high school sports, I think you have to embrace it a little bit that this is what high school sports is about, the rivalries, and as long as it stays clean and doesn't get nasty. You went through it last year, both you guys. What about this rivalry kind of strikes your attention when you see these two schools that are 2.5 miles apart?
I mean, it's fun. Rivalry games are fun. It's fun to be in this rivalry game with a school that's in town with you because these kids know each other. They see each other all the time. Yep. They probably hang out with each other, and you get that friendly rivalry. And then you've got all the alumni, and everybody's paying attention, so it makes it fun. I don't downplay it. I like rivalry games. Like we were talking about in the break. I've been at a lot of different schools, and they've all had rivalries from the Archer City Windthorst to Wichita Falls Rider and Childress Canadian. I mean, it's fun to have that. Now, we're not making a big deal about it as coaches. Our focus is getting better, fixing the things that we didn't like that we saw in the Amarillo High game. It's focusing on us, but we're not trying to sit there and preach a different story about it. We're embracing it. We know it's a rivalry game, and you can throw records out of the window in a rivalry game because anything can happen. We've seen it. It's the history of sport.
Yep.
And so you have to have that on your radar, that it is a rivalry game and that they can play at a different level than they have been because they're excited for this game. And so we need to make sure that we aren't caught off guard and that we are talking about those things so that when we get in the game, we're mentally prepared because we don't want our kids to ride too high on emotion. We want them to enjoy it, but we want to go out there and play good football.
One kid today I talked to from another school, I like the way he put it, and he probably got it from his coach, Chip Darden. He said, we want to play with emotion, but not play emotionally.
Yes.
I like the way that.
I like that too. I don't have to steal that.
There you go. I'm sure Chip doesn't mind. What's cool about the Monterey Coronado thing, and last week when we talked to your guys about Amarillo, and we talked about it later, they didn't really embrace. You don't have to talk about history with Monterey and Coronado. It's ever present. It's there. What's cool is Bobby Magel, longtime Monterey baseball coach. One of his first assistant coaches was a guy named John Dudley. Have you met Coach Dudley?
Yes.
Coach Dudley went and coached at Coronado for 35 years. Jimmy Webster, who coached at Lubbock High baseball, played at Monterey, then coached at Coronado. A lot of coaches kind of cross over and
Yes.
go to different places. So, Oscar, all those places you told me you coached, where are you from originally?
I was raised in Dumas.
Okay, so and who's Dumas's big rival?
Dumas's big rival was Randall.
Really?
Yes, sir.
So that goes back a ways too,
Yes.
because Randall's one of those schools that's getting Amarillo High. People thought those. I never knew that they didn't like each other, Randall and Amarillo High, until somebody told me, yeah, we don't. That's not somebody we talk
Yeah, that's a big rivalry too there.
Dumas Demons, one of my favorite baseball caps that I've ever seen, with the is it a pitchfork on it?
The pitchfork,
There we
yes, sir.
go. When you look at video, especially if you look at video last week of Coronado, if you look at the first half video against Tascosa, that'll perk your ears up a little bit. They were right there with them, 28-28. Got away from them in the third quarter. What do you want your guys when they get ready for this game to be ready for?
We need to be prepared for the athleticism. The quarterback is very talented, and the wide receiver is very good as well. They're very athletic in the back end of their defense, and so. But we've also, we've grown up around them. We've been playing 7-on-7 against them. We know what they've got. They know what we have, and so we just got to lean on our strengths. We need to go be physical. We need to step our physicality level up a notch. That's what we are focusing on. We're looking at them and seeing what they have, but again, putting the focus back on us. We just got to ratchet up our physicality, and I feel like this week has been our most physical days of practice. And if that translates into the game, I'll like what I see.
So the special teams part of your job, Coronado got a kickoff return for a touchdown last week too. So you've got to be ready for what they can do on special teams as well.
Yes, sir. No, they're explosive and they're athletic, and we just got to make sure we do our job and execute, and we'll take care of it.
It's one of those things where you say, hey, don't kick it to that guy.
Yes, which with you guys is hard to do.
Yes,
you've
it
got
is.
3 different guys that have taken it back, where you don't have to pick your poison. You got to figure out which is the worst poison. You kind of basically alluded to this. The big thing for you got to get that first district win, because you can't get 2 or 3 until you get 1.
100%. I mean, every game you're going to have to focus that way. You got to focus on that week, that game, that opponent. You can't look ahead ever. So they're our focus, and this is the only thing that matters.
7 p.m. Friday at Lowry Field. That'll be on 96.9 The Bull and 93.7 The Eagle. So there'll be dueling radio broadcasts. We'll be back after this break in the Mustang Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.